That's the wax getting into all the little nooks and crannies, all those bearings. We're going to take this chain off, we're going to wax this chain, so we need to clean everything, but I'm not going to start cleaning the recumbent until I've got the chain off, so that I can give that a clean, and then I can clean up the derailleur system. And because there is an issue with the derailleur system anyway, it's not changing gears very well. The cable seems to be stuck, so it's a bit, it's probably filthy in there. I might need a new cable, but I'll find that out as we go. In the meantime, we've been looking for a link. That's the link that we want over there. In order to break that chain, we need to, that's a joiner link. We need this tool here that will break that. And we're going to clean the chain in petrol. But before we do any of that, I need to make a little harness to hold the chain. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Once I've made it, I'll go and do that now. Thank you. This is the tool that I'm talking about. To put my chain on so that I can put it into and lift it up and all that sort of thing, you know, and do the same thing when I'm putting it into the wax. Now it's moving quite freely. So I'll lift the container up and you can see what we've got here. And it's really, really filthy. So that gives you an idea of how filthy it is. And as you can see, this is now our chain and what we're doing to clean it. And I have tested the chain to see if it was still in good order, and it is. It's not stretched or anything like that, so I didn't show that on camera. Here we are. I'm currently doing Veronica's recumbent, and so this is the third chain that I'm working on at the moment. And I've left this soak overnight. This is in petrol now. This is the first thing that we clean it with. So it was already quite filthy, so a lot of that filth has settled to the bottom. I'm stirring it all up now. Again, that's okay because the chain will be lying in it. I will then go and empty this and fill it with a new lot of clean petrol. Once that's done, then I will use degreaser to clean it several times. And I use boiling water actually because once I've got the degreaser and that on, degreaser takes care of any residual oil left from the petrol. So when I pour the boiling water on, it separates the dirt, the oil from the metal, and the metal has got to be absolutely clean for the wax to stick to it. So that's why I do that. And then the last thing I do is I clean it with methylated spirits. You can use a pure alcohol if you want to do that, you know, isocol or something like that, but I find that methylated spirits is pretty good for that. It just general purpose methylated spirits. It just dries everything out. So you can see that the chain is looking pretty shiny, looking pretty good. But it's not the outside of the chain that I'm really interested in, it's in between. So all those little bearings, I want to make sure that every one of them is absolutely clean. Anyway, let's go and empty this. Okay, so here we go. We've got clean petrol in there. So let's take our chain. Okay, so we've got that in there. That's pretty clean, so I'm not unhappy with that. Just like that. I'll get the degreaser. Put that on. very liberally. Very, very liberally. Turn that over the other way and do the same thing again. Let's get that wire out of the way. So that's on there very, very liberally. And we are just going to stir that for quite some time because we want that degreaser in absolutely everywhere. And then we will use boiling water, but we'll come back to that. Okay, so now as you can see, I've just poured boiling water onto this. And you can see the scum that is raised to the surface there. Well, it's not too bad, this one. Let me tell you, some of the other chains, especially the one off my X5. Okay, now we just have to let that soak for a while because it needs to get all of that gunk out of there. And you can see it. I don't know if you can see it on the video, but it's all bubbling up and coming to the surface and that, so it's getting into all of those bearings, getting all the rubbish out of it. So I'll try and get a little bit closer so you can see. You can see it swirling about and twirling about. It's all that gunk coming out of it. So we'll come back and have a look at that in a little while. So every now and again we come back and we give that a little shaker and turn it over. So I tend to drop it like this a few times. The shock should actually loosen more of the gunk that's in there because we want that metal absolutely bare. Nothing on it when we put it into the wax. Okay, time for the methylated spirits now. And here we go. I have just poured the metho in there. And we're getting our chain and getting it well into that. You notice that I'm using my hands again. As a safety precaution, don't do what I'm doing. Accept no responsibility. You do this at your own risk if you stick your hand in there without gloves on. So my advice though is to wear all the appropriate safety gear, wear a face mask and all that sort of thing, because there's strong odors that come from all of these chemicals, and they are really strong. The other thing is, make sure that you're disposing of these chemicals in a responsible way, in a responsible fashion. Put them into old containers and that sort of thing, and dispose of them as per your local requirements. Don't just pour them into the garden or whatever, you know. Some people do, or down the drain. It's just ridiculous. So be responsible. And if you want to do this with your bare hands like this, make sure that you use some sort of moisturizer on your hands afterwards. So you have to get all that gunk out of in between the nails and under the nails and that sort of thing. So no, it doesn't stain your hands. That's just dirt. It's not properly cleaned, that's all. So I'll be doing this for a good 15 minutes to half an hour to make sure that it gets in absolutely everywhere, and then I will dry it. And if this is at all dirty, which I don't think it will be, but if it is, I will go through this process again. I'm using a big industrial fan over there to dry, putting it on one of my tripods, hang it on the tripod and put the fan on it, but I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so that's our methylated spirits. After I've taken the chain out, I've just taken out over here and hung it up on my tripod, on one of my tripods, and I've put the fan on. Actually, I'll turn that up a little bit more, and we'll blow that dry. So that's ready now for waxing. As soon as this is the wax after it's been melted, and this is the chain that has been waxed, and I am now hanging it up and it's drying. So so is that wax drying there. It's hot, it's only just come off the stove. Because it's a recumbent chain that I'm waxing, it's 3 times the length of a normal bicycle chain, and so it'll never fit into a small pot. It needs to be quite a large pot. This is a baking dish, stainless steel one, so haven't used it in the last 12-13 years, so it's time that it was put to good use, and I think that it has been. So there we go. So I'll show you the finished product, and when I do the next chain I'll actually show you the wax melting. My workshop's an absolute mess. I've got to tidy it up, but this is the wax. I've melted one of these, and this is pre-mixed actually, so I'll tell you what goes into it later on. And so I used 1 slab. I wasn't sure if 1 was going to be enough, so I got 2 of them, so I can, as I need to, I can just cut off more pieces and put them with that to give me the right quantity that I need. And it all depends too on contamination. So now, while the chain is drying, this is the wax. This is the old cake tin that I was talking about, and I have my wax in there. It's done 2 chains already, so that's twice it's been used, so it's going to be discolored a little. It's usually a little bit lighter than that, but that's not bad, you know, that's pretty good. I'll set the temperature fairly high, because the lower the temperature, the thicker the wax. The higher the temperature, the thinner the wax. However, I don't want that temperature too high. I don't want that wax to boil. I just want it to be hot, super hot, and very thin. And so I figured that about halfway, and that seems to have been working for me. I've been ranging between medium, that's medium there, medium low. So I've been going between medium and medium low to get the wax just where I want it, and then I'll put the chain in there, and we wait for all the bubbles to stop coming out of the chain. If I need a little bit more wax in there, I have another brick, and I will take that and I'll put that in. I'll tell you in the description that exactly what wax this is, where I got it from, and all that sort of thing, how much it cost, and yada yada yada. So I'll include all of that in the description. Okay, here we go. Our wax is melted. I'm going to turn the temperature down just a little bit and add our chain, which I've had hanging on the door handle over here, just while the wax was getting prepared. And in she goes. And you can see all them little bubbles. That's the wax getting into all the little nooks and crannies, all those bearings. So we're giving that a bit of a shake, a bit of a shaker. Put it out, turn it over, get it in there. Give it a shaker. I've got to watch out that I don't lose chain off the end. Which sometimes happens when I'm doing things in the other chemicals, and I just pop it back on with my hand. With my finger. I can't do that yet, so I'm going to go and get a tool to actually make sure that this is done well. Now I'm going to keep it in this wax for about half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour, just to make sure that that wax gets into absolutely every little nook and cranny. Okay, we've just turned this off because it's been a half an hour, and I'm convinced that that is completely and thoroughly impregnated with wax. I believe it's everywhere. And so I'm just going to hang this up. I've moved the pot over so that when it's hanging up it'll spill into the pot of wax, and that'll eventually cool down. So I'm just going to leave that there to cool down. Okay, you can hear some background noise there. We're watching Ryan Van Duzel on telly while I'm doing this chain. There he is over there. It's one of the guys that we follow. He's a very positive bloke. And yeah. Anyway, back to our chain. Okay, this chain is done. It's nice and cold and it's as solid as you can see. And the wax has solidified again, but the pan is still pretty hot. It's cool on top, but hot at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this off the stove and put it onto a piece of cement where it can just cool off and it's not getting any contaminants in it and that sort of thing. So I'll just cover it over with something and get to work on the chain. So I'm going to go and put that chain onto the recumbent. So I'll speak to you in a moment. The recumbent is nice and clean. Everything is absolutely spotless, so that we don't have any filthy grease, oil, contaminants or anything like that on the waxed chain. So there we go. First things first. Here's our chain. It's been waxed, and as you can see it's as solid as anything. So I've got to get it off this piece of wire that I've been using to hold it all on. There we go. And that's that. That's off. Okay, now the next thing we've got to do is we have got to give this chain a little bit of flex. So I'm going to use a cloth as I bend it, break it all the way down so that we can install it. That's it. I'm going to do a little bit of vacuuming here and we'll come back in a moment because I've loosened that up a fair bit. It's not completely and totally loose yet. I need to put that on the recumbent and take it for a ride. Here we've got our chain. We're going to thread that through. Okay. It's like threading a needle. Put it together. Make sure that that's tight. Oh, there's a little wax in there. That one. Right. Just make sure that they're pulled tight. And it is. That is the chain back on. And we'll just run it around slowly and gently. To wear it in, just to get all that wax moving. And we're going to lose bits and pieces and chunks of wax all over the place for a little while. But that's all right. Some guys roll it around a bar or a stick broom handle, things like that. And others just put it straight onto their machine and run it that way. And I think, personally, I think this was a better way of doing it, to be honest with you. Okay. So number 3, tighten that up, snapping these things. So just got to be careful. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to ring the bell if you want to be notified when we post something new. That's it, nice and tight. There we go. She's locked on.